I'm doing a rare on-camera piece. Really uncomfortable. Yeah, so the alternative to making this video is working out the gutters that are going on the back fascia and like the spacings and the fall and all that kind of jazz while I wait for it to finish raining. But yeah, I thought I would do a piece on camera. Yeah, and talk about the challenges, I suppose, of self-building. Because I've mostly been talking about the kind of more technical things about like lime wash and paint and this and that and products. And as I said, I haven't blogged or made a video or anything for a long time, and I think a lot of people are a bit out of the loop about where I'm at with the house, or think that I'm nearly done and I'm about to move in, which I wish I was, but I'm not. And yeah, that's a combination of things. Everything takes longer than you expect, curse of the self-builder. Should have learned that from Grand Designs. I originally was hoping to be in August. That was always really optimistic. That was a year from beginning to end, like from foundations going in. And then I was like, no, that's not going to happen. It'll be October. And then it became apparent that October wouldn't happen. And we were like, okay, Christmas is the goal. And then we realised we'd missed Christmas. And we were like, yeah, but at least we'll have the wood burner in and the kitchen in so that we can come here and like have Christmas dinner here and have heating. And now I'm like, looks like maybe the wood burner will go in January. And there's definitely not going to be a kitchen. So we won't be having Christmas dinner here. And now I'm starting to think that it will be April. So yeah, everything takes longer than you expect, but also, as I mentioned in the first video, I slightly burned myself out. In theory, I work 3 days a week and do 3 days a week here. And thankfully, my job's really flexible, so I don't have set days necessarily. I go in, you know, if I've got a meeting on a particular day, I'll go in and I'll work around that. And I can do things like I can take a day off one week and work it the next week, or even a whole week where I don't go in. So I probably had maybe 3 weeks this year where I've needed to spend really like the whole week on site, like when we were doing lime, or earlier in the year I did a whole week of straw because I had someone coming to help. And that's great. So I've been able to, yeah, work flexibly and like do 4 days one week and no days the next week or whatever and juggle it. But it has been really hard to juggle. And I've been sort of like taking holiday days basically as well, in order to do shorter working weeks. But I mean, it's ambitious building a house anyway, and I think trying to build a house part-time is even more ambitious. And I think if you know how hard it is, like at the start going into it, you probably just wouldn't do it. If you knew how hard it was going to be. So you need a degree of like naivety and optimism, I think, when you start building. And yeah, it's probably overly optimistic and overly naive, and that's fine. I think that's probably just natural for me. But also when you miss your targets and you're tired because you've been working so bloody hard for so long, you know, you start to get quite demoralised. And I flipped from being slightly over optimistic and naive to being really like down about where I'm at with the house and how on earth I'm ever going to finish it. An extra 6 months to your program when you have like no resources left, nothing. You have completely exhausted yourself. And you were like, that's fine, I will give 110, 150, 200% for 1 year of my life, and then I will be in the house, and then I can go back to normal. And then after a year of it, you are completely and utterly exhausted, and you're like, right, I now need to find reserve to do this for another 6 months. Yeah, I actually just was like, no, I just don't know how I can do this. What do I do? Do I like burn it down? Do I sell it? What do I do? I just don't know how I'm ever going to finish this. I just can't. I got to the stage where I just couldn't face coming here, and I was really stressed when I did come here, and lost my ability to be able to problem solve, because I was just feeling so frazzled and exhausted. I just wasn't thinking rationally. So yeah, I would say by the start of September, like basically a full year in, I was really, really knackered, and I'd also not long come off doing 7 weeks without a day off, any day off at all. Which is obviously stupid. Like, you need at least 1 day a week where you just don't do anything exhausting. But the problem is, like, even that 1 day a week, there's life admin. You need to do your laundry. You need to there's lots of things you need to do on that one precious day off, and you need to call your parents, and you need to, you know, just, yeah, wash up and do all the chores that you've ignored because you've come home from site and you're completely knackered, and all you do is you eat and you go to bed. And that's just what it's like all the time for months on end. You just don't feel like you're on top of anything at all. Yeah, so even if you manage to have one day off, it's not really a day off at all. So yeah, so by September I was completely and utterly knackered, and I think I was starting to really lose it at the start of September. And that was the big push for Lime rendering. So called in the big guns, got loads of friends, which was amazing. I think I had maybe 20 different people over 3 or 4 days coming to help. We did loads of the slip coat, which is the first coat, which is kind of the low skilled but really hands-on bit of rendering, and then called the professionals in for doing the main coats. Because you're up against the clock basically with Lime, it starts to go off and you want it to be at a certain stage when you put the next coat on. So we're up against the clock. So it's good to have the professionals in, and pushed really hard in September to get that done. And Myrtle and I had a holiday booked, a week off at the end of September, which was super lovely and really relaxing. Just spent a lot of time having lions and like reading and going for gentle walks and just really chilling out. But when we got back from that, I just really hit the wall with my energy levels. So yeah, from the start of October basically until now, and it's the 16th, I think, of November today, it's been a really rough sort of like 6 weeks where I just haven't really felt capable of doing anything, work or building, or even stuff at home, like getting up in the morning and just being, oh, I've got to wash up. I can't cope with washing up. I'm so exhausted. I just want to stay in bed. So yeah, I definitely burned myself out completely. Burnout, stress, depression, nervous breakdown, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, just totally overdid it for too long and knackered myself out. And I think I've been feeling that building actually for quite a long time, probably since about March or April. I've been struggling energy wise, and I've had some really amazing helpers on site, which is great, but you know, they've got jobs and lives and other things to do, so they're not always available, and then, you know, a chunk of the time you end up here alone and you really need help and you really need a second pair of hands, and you put out call outs on Facebook or text or whatever, and no one's available, and you totally understand why, but at the same time it's like really like, oh god, I really need help, and I'm asking for help and I'm not getting it. So you kind of stop asking. So I think I kind of like went a little bit on lockdown and stopped kind of communicating with people and stopped asking, except for really big obvious things like, hey, we're going to have a weekend and we're going to, like, you know, put the first coat of render on, and can everybody come at the weekend? And that's great, and that's a big push, and that saved me so much time and also a really chunk of money as well. But like the day-to-day, like needing people like 2 or 3 days a week, really, it's really hard to get people for that. And I have Myrtle sometimes, but September, October was super busy for her work-wise, so she hasn't been available. Although she's more available now, which is great because it's quieter going into the winter. But it's more challenging because it's like by about 4:30 you're losing the light and you need to start packing up, and you can't be here till 7 to get a job done. So yeah, I guess that's just a little insight into just some of the challenges of self-build. And yeah, I've really struggled with thinking, would I ever do this again? Would I ever recommend this to anybody? I think I've managed to get my chin up enough that I wouldn't tell anyone not to do it, like if you really want to do it. And I guess the majority of people who self-build are in a relationship and they start it together. And you know, I've got Myrtle now, but I started this on my own and I committed to doing this on my own. And you know, Myrtle, love her, she's here and she helps me and she offers a lot of moral support, but this was, you know, we didn't enter into this as a project together, and she cannot be here as much as I can, so it was never our project. It's becoming our project, but it was, you know, I entered into this on my own. So yeah, having 2 people, I think, entering into it at the start and being realistic about how much time it's going to take, that would really help. Yeah, so I've had quite a few visitors, which is really nice. Anything from like architects, local architects who like haven't seen straw before and want to come and do a bit of like professional development, or friends of friends who are in the trade and just want to come and see how it's going, and potential self builders. So yeah, had a couple of sets of future self builders come to visit, and it was interesting trying to tread that like balance of being happy for them and enthusiastic and encouraging, but also like trying to be quite realistic with them about how hard it's going to be, and you don't want to put people off. Like, as I say, I think you need to be like a little bit naive and optimistic going into it at the start, otherwise you just wouldn't do it. But I guess knowledge is power, and if you set more realistic targets at the start because you're more realistic about how long things are going to take, or I don't know, maybe put things in place to take care of yourself as well. Like that's also really hard. Like when you're building, to prioritize self-care, and it's like the most physical work that I've ever done in my life. I've done a bit of building before, but not for this duration. I did 6 months once, and that was pretty hard. And this is like over a year. So you're physically, your body changes, your muscles change, you're achy, yeah, and mentally you're kind of on it all the time. So I end up dreaming about the house. You'll wake up in the middle of the night, it'll be raining, and you'll be 3 a.m. and you'll be thinking about, are the tarps okay? Is there a leak at the house? And it's nothing you can do. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, but you're worried about it. Even like while you're asleep, you're dreaming about it, and you wake up and it's the first thing on your mind, and it's just exhausting. You just don't get any break from it whatsoever. So I guess if you know at the start how hard it's going to be, and you think about, well, like, what can I do to support myself during this, both like physically and mentally, whether you put aside some time to just have some total downtime, or you have a meditation or mindfulness practice, or you are able to go and have a weekly massage, or go to a spa, or sit in a sauna, or just do something, whatever it is, things that you can to like support yourself, which is hard when you feel that you've got no time, and also probably you're broke. Totally and utterly broke. For the first time in like 15 years, every single bank account I've got just reads zero balance, and I have a credit card debt. And that's a scary position to be in, when you've had tens of thousands of pounds of savings and you like put it all into your property and you have absolutely nothing left. So I can't spend any money on anything well-being wise. I can't have a massage. I can't go to a spa. I can try to make time, and that's really important. And in fact, I have literally just signed up to a course up at Sharpham. It's like 1 day a week, mindfulness in nature, and it's quite affordable, which is great. And they have bursaries if you don't have a lot of money, which is good because I only work part-time, so I don't. So I've just signed up to that. So yeah, from January, in about 8 weeks' time, I'll have a day a week where I go and just do mindfulness, and I'm outdoors, and it's time for me, and time to be with like how I'm feeling, and not to be physically exhausting myself, which would be really good. So yeah, I guess knowing that kind of thing and doing that from the start would be really helpful, and I'd recommend that. Not necessarily mindfulness, but something, something to support yourself. Yeah, and you got to manage your money, and you got to manage your relationship and make time for your relationship. There's so many different things to balance. So I don't think I'm being hard on myself. It is a hard process. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I haven't been like communicating much about the house, but I am now. So that's quite a lengthy update for today, and lots of different videos for me to patch together. So I will sign off for a bit. I think the rain is stopping.